So we are here with Amber Sloten and Carrie Murphy, and they are, Carrie is the founder of the Fabricant, and Amber is the designer, and we are here actually at like a digital fashion company. They are an online fashion house, and it's really, really new and interesting what they are doing. We had a huge and interesting conversation together today, and I would like you to get to know these people a little bit better, and also they're on a big mission. So maybe Amber, you can explain what is digital fashion house? How do you work? Because you're not making clothes, you design, but it's not something you can actually put on.
No, to me it was always a very big question of how can we actually solve the issues regarding the fashion industry. You know, there's so much wrong at the moment, with overproduction and all these kind of things, and then digital started coming along, and I saw visualizations of digital clothes, and to me it was so interesting how it actually looked so real, and it could actually be very emotional if you look at it, and to me it was a challenge. How can we create actually digital garments and actually still tell a story with that without having to make any physical products? So we decided to basically say, like, we want to be a fashion house, but we don't want to make any physical products, and we want to see how we can actually start selling these digital items as well, especially regarding the new kind of industries of your virtual identity. So if you look at, for instance, Generation Z, they already have kind of 4 Instagram accounts that they're curating minimum.
Yeah.
And also within games, you try to dress yourself in a digital identity. So we see that coming more and more, and it would be a really nice solution without the pollution.
Oh, really nice. And Carrie, we will tell us a little bit about your background and why you got involved, because it has so much to do with passion and feeling that this is important.
Yeah, so my background is in film and 3D animation, and when I entered the film industry, it was really in this discussion between, what's better, digital or analog, and this was the early 2000s, and that was kind of around the midterm that, film was going towards digital, and now we don't have that discussion anymore. Nobody's talking about that analog is better than digital.
Sure.
Everybody's like, okay, digital is just the way to go because it's cheaper and it comes with all these possibilities. It's way faster. Analog film is nice to have and it looks nice, but it's kind of like a LP. You just have it for the tangibility after, for that nostalgic feeling.
Yeah.
And then I heard when I met with Amber, we started talking, and it's like I kind of realized that the fashion industry is in the beginning stages of the digitization. Where film industry was back in the days, and that conversation was on repeat for me. I started kind of realizing, well, they're going through the same stuff that I already saw happening, and in film industry, the visual effects industry is massive right now, and that came through digitization. The fact that we're able to film ourselves on our phone at the moment came through the digitization of film. What are those aspects that fashion can have, 10, 20, 30 years as we move towards the future? How is the digitization of fashion actually providing value, in our daily lives, And it's like Kodak, the biggest film company ever, since the 1800s, true monopoly. They didn't digitize fast enough. They went bankrupt in 2012. So.
Well, thanks, because what we are looking at when we are looking at, our fashion education and being interested in fashion, we learn how to work from an idea to a product. How do you do that, Amber? Because where's your inspiration to make your collections? Does that work in another way too?
Well, it's very different to work digitally. So usually how you work is you actually sketch and you create a pattern, and then you make the garment and you see if it looks like what you sketched. But right now,
you have a fabric or
you
something.
have a fabric or whatever, you make the sample. But right now it feels much more like sculpting. So basically I start with a piece of fabric, I start draping it, and then I just can immediately adjust my pattern to what I'm doing. So basically I make like 1,000 samples in one, because I'm constantly adjusting like what I like or what I feel works, and my pattern is kind of also corresponding with that immediately. So I change something in 2D, like on the 2D side of the pattern side, and then immediately changes in 3D. So there's immediately visualizations of what you're doing, like design-wise. So you no longer have to wait for a sample to come to you with like, oh, maybe it's a little bit too short, or maybe we have to cut some space here, or in the digital world you can immediately do that without actually having to make all of these samples. And it's a very different way of working, because to me it feels like this. It feels like I'm immersed in a game. Like I'm constantly working on these visualizations, and also you sometimes have to tell yourself to stop, because it's an endless process, and there's no finished product you have to tell yourself to finish. So it's also kind of new challenges, like where do you stop designing, and when are you happy with your shape? And also sometimes
you're more a curator actually of all the ideas that are coming to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Because talking about that and talking about talent and the designer of the future, what kind of skill set do you feel the new generations of designers should have?
Technological insights. Because the thing that inspires me most, like my latest collection that we did together with the Asimov Institute, I got inspired by algorithms. Like there was images that we used that were actually created by a computer.
Yeah.
So to me it's interesting, where does my creativity end, and where does the computer's begin, and where does mine begin again, and where does it end? So it's very interesting to work together with technology to come up with new ideas, because the computer actually kind of created images that inspired me again, with using prints or shapes or anything that the computer came up with, I use directly in my design process.
Yeah, and you still give input to the computer. This is how an algorithm works.
Yeah.
That you have to know what combinations to give to the computer to make up new ideas and then choose from it.
Exactly. So we gave it like Paris Fashion Week images, and it came up with new images, and that's what we used for the collection, and we were able to present that in 3 different places in the same week, because what we do is digital, so there's no longer a need to be in a certain location. No, we can be anywhere at the same time. We don't have to ship a collection.
No, it's super, and it opens a world of opportunities, and at the same time we also had a discussion about that there's so much to do, because the industry works in a kind of old-fashioned way. Maybe Carrie, you can think, because you have a fantastic brain about how you see your company and all the possibilities, but can you maybe share with us what should happen? What are the boundaries at this moment? What are your obstacles to work with? Because there's so much opportunity, and still, we are also a bit stuck. Can you share with us a little bit your mind about how you look at the fashion industry and what needs to be happen? What are you looking for? What do you need as such an inspirational tech company?
You mean the general obstacles that we face?
General, or the fashion industry in itself.
Yeah, I think from the industry perspective, it's really that mindset shift. That's the biggest obstacle. It really comes from when people look at us, like some people see magic, and some people truly don't understand what we do or how it applies, Or some people are like, oh, that looks cool, I don't know what to do with it, So especially from the designer's perspective, fashion designers are so used to sketching something on paper that's not like a real life figure, and then there's that fragmentation of like that sketch does not, translate into the person who actually needs to execute the dress itself, and that needs to go back and forth quite a lot. So that way of working seems to be so embedded into these people, and now all of a sudden there's this new way of working that Amber uses that to me feels so normal, because it's digital design, it's so much faster, that endless prototyping, that no waste, rapid prototyping, just
sizing,
instant ideation. It's more about the ideas, and just getting it out there, and somehow people are so refusing to kind of go into that mindset, because it requires you to be a little bit of an engineer as well as that designer, when it was all about just creativity and knowing how to use pencil and paper. It's just like the film industry, when we used to make film edits, it's just like cutting something with scissors and pasting the film back together.
True. That's a very good example.
And fashion industry is still the same, doing that.
True.
So that's like the biggest barrier that we're hitting, but at the same time there's the massive opportunities, because there is that cry for help, that cry for change, and wanting to do things differently. And now this presents an opportunity to do something differently, and the doors are open. You can imagine the way that it's happening, as Amber's done. She just tried something, it really felt correct for her, and just kind of keep going with that. It's just the biggest barrier is just people at the moment.
maybe
Yeah.
the industry itself to
Yeah.
move along. This is also because we are recording this vlog actually for my students in Rome, the International Business School of Rome, the Fashion Master. I'm recording vlogs around the subjects that we are teaching them, but I think I also want to address the industry, and we guys will continue to talk about that and think about how we can, you know, develop the industry. But I think addressing this industry and people who are watching is, you know, connect with us and connect with these guys, because we need to get organized and we need to make a change, because the most amazing thing I felt at around this table is that we are talking about tech innovation, but at the same time it has everything to do with inclusiveness and creating quality for our industry. And I think you just want to join that movement, so we should group together and make a movement out of this, and amazing things will happen also for our new generations.
Yeah,
So
totally.
thank you for having me. We will absolutely continue to, you know, work and talk together. And if you have inspiring ideas or want to connect, then you can do it through me, and then I connect you with these guys. So let's keep up the good thoughts. Thanks.